So over the last couple of days, Bethesda's been driving everybody nuts, and why is that? Well, Oblivion Remastered was shadow dropped right on the same day that they did a live stream in which they announced the game. This game was leaked about a week prior, and I was actually doubtful as to whether it was real or not, but it was indeed real, and it is turning out to be a very fun, nostalgic trip through memory lane. It's been quite a blast playing this game with high resolution, high graphical capabilities. The game actually looks quite different from the way that it used to, but it also retains the same essence that it had back in 2006, and this was one of my most played games. The Xbox 360 days were some of my biggest gaming days, okay? Halo 3, Red Dead Redemption, and Oblivion. And Oblivion was a game that stood the test of time amongst these other titles that I played, so I was really excited to get back into this title. However, I was a skeptic in terms of what they were going to be adding into this game that was not so good, such as male and female being removed from the gender options and being replaced by body types 1 and 2 and A and B. Now, this isn't really a game-breaking feature for me when video game developers do this. It's been a thing for many years now, so it isn't exactly a big deal, but as some people in the gaming sphere have suggested, if it isn't such a big deal, then why change it in the first place? And that's what we're going to get into today. We're also going to go over some information on how the game is doing, what the internet thinks of the game, and of the controversies surrounding these changes that are being made. But before we get into all that, I just want to say it's really great to be back. I know that some people were worried about me. A lot of people were suggesting that I might be dead, and other people thought that I might have quit YouTube. I think that the dead thing was pretty funny. But overall, my friends, you have nothing to worry about. It's just that I've been going through a lot of life changes lately. I've been getting closer to God. I've had my 4th child, which has changed my schedule drastically. And that on top of the fact that we were moving from one country to the next, I'm currently now in South Korea for the next few years, and it has been quite a journey getting here. We've had a lot of moving pieces, and I have had zero time to be making any kind of video content for the time being. That being said, I have returned, and I'm ready to get back into making content for everybody once again. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's get into what has the internet stirring this week. So Bethesda did make a change, okay? And a lot of people are saying, hey, this really isn't a big deal. All of these anti-woke grifters are complaining about this tiny text change to the gender options. But this is a pattern that a lot of people in the gaming sphere cannot help but take notice of, because it is a pattern that has been in action for quite some time. In fact, over the past couple of years, games have been doing this. I do believe that gaming discourse has become a lot more nuanced as time has gone on, especially over the past year. So a lot of people on both sides do find themselves in friction with one another and don't fully agree on every single subject that comes into play. And I don't think that it should be that way anyway. The truth of the matter is, body type A and B options and body type 1 and 2 options have been a part of video games for many years. And that is a fact that cannot be disputed. Most of the time when people are putting those options into their games, it's an original design choice. And unfortunately, it's not the easiest thing to wade through all of these design choices and determine whether these are woke agenda pushes or not. Some developers just want to make body type A and B options because they've been a part of their games in the past. Now, in Bethesda's case, they've been known to make male and female an option in their video games. So color me surprised when they changed male and female to body type 1 and 2. As you can see in my post here that's getting a little bit of traction, I talked about this. I said body type A and B or 1-2 choices aren't really a game breaker for me. That being said, this is a deliberate change from male-female in the OG. It tells me that during development, someone was offended and the devs caved. So Bethesda, in all honesty, what's wrong with male and female? And I do think that this question needs to be asked of Bethesda. What is the problem with male and female? Was it not a good thing in the original game? What in the world was being discussed during development where you all decided, hey, this needs to be taken out and replaced by body type A and B or 1 and 2? It just doesn't make any sense unless somebody was offended. I think that that is one possibility, that somebody during development said, hey, this is probably going to tick a lot of the modern audience off and we need to get rid of it. But that's one possibility. A lot of people disagree with me on this subject. They think that this could be the result of Microsoft's DEI policies, which has also been discussed in previous videos of mine months prior. And in that regard, Microsoft has been pushing policies down the pipeline to their developers that they have control of, that they need to start making certain characters uglier to fit the modern ideals that they have. Now, historically, it has not done relatively well for them. However, we also need to acknowledge the fact that this game is doing really well. And I think that it is a deserved success at this point because the game is a lot of fun and there has clearly been a lot of passion put into its development, which is why it is so unfortunate that this change at the very beginning of your character creation process has been made. This is the very first thing that you're going to see when you make your character. When you start the game, you're going to see the 1-2 option, and of course that's going to be ammunition that is used by the anti-woke sphere against Bethesda. A lot of people have already been talking about it. Some of the biggest influencers out there have already spoken about it. Even I'm talking about it. Now, I don't think that I'm taking the extremist approach on this issue. I don't personally care. As it says in this post, I don't really care that much about A/B options. I've played tons of games that have original A/B option design choices. My problem is that this is a deliberate change from male and female. I'm just questioning why it is that they even felt they needed to change this at all when everything else in the game has been virtually untouched. Now, they have added additional dialogue into the game and have voiced over that additional dialogue, so I guess we'll see if people find more wrong with the game, but other than that, I haven't seen anything remotely woke about this remaster, and in fact, I don't even know if it's fair to call this game a remaster. I would rather just call it a remake because that's technically what it is. The entire combat system has been basically overhauled. The mechanics of the leveling up system have also been changed to be a mix of Oblivion and Skyrim features, and not only that, this game has been pushed up to 120 gigs through Unreal Engine development. It's been built from the ground up to look like Tamriel, but also look brand new, and that is something that I feel that they have succeeded at. So there is no question that a lot of people are playing this game, and I will show you exactly how many people love this game despite this change that has only been talked about for about 24 hours or so. Now, despite this game doing really well in sales, and we will discuss that in a moment, that has not stopped people from trying to change the game back to normal through mods. Now, of course, if you're trying to make mods through Nexus Mods, you're probably going to get hit by their moderators. And that's exactly what happened when one of these accounts tried to do exactly that. When he was telling Grums, hey, I made a mod for it, in which he changed body type 1 and 2 back to female and male. And unsurprisingly, Nexus Mods nuked it. As Pirate Nation says here, mod that was quickly becoming the most popular Oblivion Remastered mod, 400 plus comments, tons of paid Nexus Mod membership users supporting it, and it gets deleted. Hilarious, but that should be expected. I mean, Nexus Mods does this for a ton of different mods, for a ton of different games. Anytime anybody tries to insert any kind of normalcy into their mods, Nexus Mods finds it, they delete it right away. And that's exactly what happened here. I do think that this is really just mainly a Nexus Mods thing. I haven't really researched much whether Nexus Mods and Microsoft discuss these things so thoroughly to where they're like, hey, any mods that pop up trying to change this female-male thing back to normal, nuke it immediately. We will not have these gamers having their own opinions, views, and ways of playing. They will play it our way or the highway, or in this case, the dumb way. And he goes on to say, why do these Nexus Cs still want to force this stupid ideology? 90% of the world doesn't agree with it, but I'm not sure that I would fully agree with that statement, as you will see in just a moment. However, I do agree that the change is dumb, and as I mentioned earlier, if it really wasn't that big of a deal, why would you change it at all? And in fact, why would you change only that, but leave everything else remotely the same? It doesn't really seem all that fair. I mean, what is so wrong about the concept of male and female? Is it not biologically correct? And has it not been a part of the original Oblivion for the last 20 years? I would say so, because it is. And biologically, there are only males and females. But due to Microsoft policies and due to whoever was offended during the development process, this change was made. And I think that it is ticking a lot of people off. It's not really ticking me off, although I see that it is making a lot of people angry. So this is why I want to talk about it, because I feel that gamers out there are taking the extremist approach with this game. They see this gender option and they're like, well, now I'm swearing off the game. Now I'm going to call out Bethesda and try to destroy their company, and I hope they all burn in hell. And I just don't understand why anybody would take that stance. We're trying to be a nuanced gaming community. We're trying to help these companies that we've been a part of for many, many years to understand where we're coming from as their customers and propel them into success. And it seems that these developers really just don't want to listen. Bethesda really could take a lesson from all of these other games that are really doing well. Just giving gamers what they want, giving them a video game that they can enjoy. Good old-fashioned action adventure that doesn't inject any modern world politics into it. And when you inject those modern politics into a game that's already been in existence for 20 years just so you can get a little bit of a win for this 0.02% population of people, it leaves a bad taste in gamers' mouths. And it disrupts the flow of trust between you and the people you're trying to make this video game for. You all said in your own development video that you were passionate about this project, that you cared about bringing gamers one of the best titles that you have ever made into Unreal Engine 5 so that both old and new players can experience it. Now here's the thing, I don't want to demonize Bethesda. They have made several mistakes. That cannot be denied. They've made mistakes with Starfield, they've made mistakes with this game, and there's a good chance that they're going to make mistakes again. And that's part of the problem that I have with this change that they've made so deliberately when they could have just left it alone. Just think about this for a second. In the game itself, after you're finished with character creation, people still call you male and female, depending on what you actually are. I've been playing the game for several hours now. I've had it for about a day. It took me forever to download it, but I went in and I've seen zero change to the dialogue. So it really makes this change completely unnecessary. That being said, I do think that a lot of people are just overreacting. They're like, let's swear off this company forever. Bethesda is doomed. No, I just think that these companies really just need to be corrected. They need to be called out and they need to make these changes. I think that this could easily be fixed. And I've said this for other games in the past. Just add a toggle in there so that gamers can either choose to have a body type 1 and 2 if they're really super offended and their body twitches uncontrollably if they see something like that, or just give them the ability to switch it back to male and female. These things can be added in. And if you're so passionate about keeping everything within the essence of what the game used to be, then that should be a no-brainer. Now here's a question that a lot of people are wondering. Is this going to hurt sales if they don't make this change? No, I don't think so. The bottom line is, this game is doing very well. If you look at this page here on SteamDB, it says that there are over 100,000 people playing. I think if I refresh it, there are probably going to be way more than that. And yep, over 100,000 people playing. Now, its peak, okay, its peak is 182,000 people. It's almost reached 200,000 players. And that's only on Steam, okay? This game has also been released on Xbox Game Pass. It's also been released on PlayStation 5. I imagine that there are probably almost 1 million, maybe a little bit more than 1 million people playing this game. I'm not sure if it will hit 200,000 on Steam. I think that since the day is just getting started wherever you all are right now, things could change. It could level out and maybe it'll go above 200,000. I guess we'll just have to see. Due to the fact that this was released during the week and not the weekend, I think that these numbers could change drastically depending on the situation, but we'll see. All things considered, this game is a success. Many of these people, these 200,000 almost people who are playing this game, saw this option and they didn't care. And they've been playing this game for a while. So for a lot of gamers out there, this will not be an issue. Me personally, I don't think that this is a game-breaking thing for me. This isn't the kind of thing that will make me go, well, I need to uninstall it because if I give them an inch, they'll take a mile. They had to deliberately make a change like that, but you don't really see any changes anywhere else, at least none so far. People are moving from one edge of the game to the other, so there is a chance that we'll see something more that they're changing. But other than someone out there complaining that they changed a Spriggan to look less female and more masculine, which I find to be ridiculous after taking a look at it, I really don't see anything else being changed about this game. For the most part, there are quality of life improvements, graphical upgrades, and gameplay overhauls, but there really isn't that much else going on. What I do find absurd is the fact that Nexus Mods deleted the mod to just change it back to male and female. They're just abusing their power that they have, but this is something that they've done many times, so it's not really a surprise that they've done this. And people are like, oh, I can't believe Nexus Mods did that, but Nexus Mods does that kind of thing. They have a lot of sensitive people on their team, and if they see a mod like this that's pushing against whatever agenda Microsoft is trying to push through Bethesda, they're gonna say no thank you and nuke it. I think everybody is on the same page as far as Nexus Mods. Now, funny enough, the only people who seem to be non-self-aware about this entire thing is Nexus Mods themselves, because they're like, oh, it had to happen. It just had to happen. Modders bring back original lighting in Oblivion Remastered. remastered. Just like the other thing that you did had to happen in nuking the male and female return option, which a lot of people are calling them out on. If you read these comments down here, it is hilarious. They're saying, stop censoring mods. This will be your downfall. I'm not so sure about that. They seem pretty lock and key over there. I guess time will tell. You know, 4chan got nuked recently, so you never know what's going to happen. But there are more people saying, why are you guys censoring MF mod? I don't understand how you can say type 1 and 2 are a nothing burger. You know, it's really funny. I think that Nexus Mods posted this on purpose just to get people stirring and controversial and commenting on their page just so they can get some engagement, because the timing of it all is just perfect. They nuke the mod and then they talk about a completely different mod that has nothing to do with the male and female mod. And then people are mad because they're not acknowledging what they did and they're like, stop changing everything. And this guy says, how about original body type? If you want Oblivion to feel like the old one. There are influencers out there that are saying, no, this isn't a non-binary game. You know, I think that if you would just change this, you would probably have a boost to sales. Now, there are extremist gamers out there who are just like, this is 100% non-binary. Bethesda is doomed. Gaming is doomed. And I just don't think that that's the case. But I do think that Bethesda needs to be asked this very important question. How passionate are you about bringing the best experiences to your gamer base? How passionate are you about that? Because you have stated in your own videos that you guys really care about the people who've supported you for all of these years. In the gameplay alone, you can see several examples of the effort that they put into building this game from the ground up in Unreal Engine 5. The amount of effort that it takes to maintain the essence of the original Oblivion, it takes a lot of skill and attention to detail. And when you take such small things like text options at the beginning of the game and change them deliberately, it sends a message that you're the kind of developers that, while passionate, you're willing to cave to higher powers in order to push an agenda that not everybody supports. And for the most part, people do not support this kind of agenda, and especially not in this day and age, not as much as they used to. Back in the day, people were a lot more oppressed in the gaming sphere. They were pushed towards an agenda that they didn't want in their lives or in any of their products. And especially with all of these remasters and remakes coming out, way too many creative liberties have been taken to change these games to fit a modern era, and it is shown to be disastrous for these games. Now, I do feel that Oblivion Remastered is one of the only exceptions to this rule. Gaming consultation firms like Sweet Baby Inc. and other companies like those, their games that they're involved in are really not doing well these days. If you take a look at South of Midnight and other titles like it, they're not doing too well. And talks surrounding those companies are also dwindling down because gaming, I feel, is becoming way more nuanced. That doesn't mean that we should stop being vigilant. I feel that we should start paying a little bit more attention these days. I don't think that we should just start writing off all of these companies, though. I think that if we want to course correct gaming, we just need to start calling out these companies that we care about and try to push them in a better direction. Because if we just try to destroy all of these gaming companies, we're not going to have games. We're just not. A lot of these developers within these big companies hate gamers, but there are also people in these companies that love gamers. But if you just create all of this friction, you're just going to bring disaster. If you believe in the rising from the ashes concept, then more power to you. And if you want to write off a company completely over one small change like this, that's totally fine as well. That's completely your choice. Personally, I am not bothered by it. But I think that if we want to bring positive change to this industry, we not only need to talk about these things, we also need to be that change. I personally have been getting into game development a lot. Over the past 8 months, I've been learning all about Blender, all about Unreal Engine 5, and I'm feeling pretty confident about a few ideas that I have. Who knows if companies like Bethesda will be around another 20 or 30 years, but they have been around a long time. Is Elder Scrolls 6 going to have these kind of gender options in there? Are they going to add pronouns and top surgery scars like they did in Veilguard? Part of me thinks that that may actually happen because Starfield was no stranger to these modernizations. However, I am hopeful that these companies will start paying a little bit more attention to the people that still care about them and aren't wishing for their complete and total destruction. But we'll see how things go. Which brings me to a post from a friend of mine named Lady Gravemaster, who I feel brings the point home. Bring back male and female options, please. Body type 1 or 2 destroys suspension of disbelief and hampers the experience by bringing real-world non-issues into escapism. thank you. And I 100% agree. If you want people to be fully immersed in your game from the get-go, you probably don't want to inject modern politics into the game from the get-go. Can this be determined 100% as a woke decision to change it from male, female to 1 and 2? I can't be entirely sure. But until we see more problems with the game, I don't think that we will have a solid picture of what's been going on behind the scenes in development yet. That being said, I hope you all enjoyed the game, and that's all I've got for you guys in this video today. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you haven't had the chance to like it and share it with your friends, that would be awesome. And hey, if you're feeling ultra spicy, consider subscribing to my channel so that you're always up to date on what kind of thing I've got going on. I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Later. Meow meow.